name's all Shardvixen, and today is not Saturday, it's Sunday, but I did change my vlog schedule to Saturday to Sunday, and I still have 60 some odd minutes before it's midnight, so I'm sure I'll have it out on Sunday. Woohoo, woohoo. I don't know how it is, I keep getting late. Well, I do. A lot of it has to do with my health. I now have a cold again, only this time it's in my sinuses, so it's like doing this big rotational thing. Today's topic is called drawing, and that's like art drawing, I think is how I want to put it. I'm tired, so this could be a problem. I also am having some issue with my face today. I'm sorry. Ooh, that must have been weird for you as I pull up my mouth to shove my hand up it. So my face just hurts today really bad, so that also sometimes it tells you that there's some allergy thing going on, though it could just be me. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about drawing, and I'd like to say that drawing is one of those things I've done since the moment I could breathe, but that's not true. I didn't actually get into drawing until I was in high school. I mean, I drew before then, did a lot of stick figures kind of things, and I do stick figures now too, but I did a lot of just plain stick figures. What I could always do is look at a picture and draw it, not perfect as the other picture, but enough that people would know what it was. And that helped me out for book reports and things like that in school. But other than that, I didn't really do any drawing. It wasn't my thing. Dancing and music was more my thing, and comic books and reading and that kind of stuff that we talked about earlier. But drawing around, I was kicked out of my regular ed school and was put into alternative ed. And the alternative ed was really good for me, I guess. I had to catch up 2.5 years of cutting, but I met Mr. Fisher, who was the, we called him Fish. He was the art teacher, and he did all kinds of art. It wasn't just drawing. There was all kinds of stuff. But you had to take an elective. It was required that you take an elective in class, and there wasn't a lot offered for electives. I took an extra math class. I took business. I took TA. I was a TA for a while. I did office. I worked in the office for a while, but pretty much art was it. Everyone took art. So I took art, and that was fine, and I was his TA for a while, so that worked out too. But I had experience in clay, because my best friend in high school, her mother did clay work at Greenware, and we did lots of cleaning of it and painting of it. So I had experience, and he had a kiln, and so I did a lot of artwork in his class. It wasn't until he said, you know, what it was is I wanted to put a unicorn on a tile. And I didn't know how to do it. And he's like, well, why don't you just draw the unicorn? I'm like, I don't really draw. And he's like, well, let me show you this way of transferring. So it's a ratio transfer, which a lot of people learn in high school. You make a graft. It's a cube, a square, an inch. Let's say you take one that's an inch all the way around. And then the ratio is that if it's going to be an inch across, you know, the squares are all going to be an inch big all the way around, then you have to have a ratio to it, so like 1 to 5, so 1 inch to 5 inches. And then you put the 1 inch on the original picture, and then you put, you know, the 5 inches on your paper, and then you look at where the pictures are in each, what's in each block, shading or whatever, and you transfer it to that picture, and thus you can draw a pretty good picture, you know, by transferring it to bigger or smaller. Except for me, because like I said, I'd done a lot of copy work where I could just look at something and usually draw it, but they saw no need to do any of that, so I never kept it up. And then what happened is, so he had me do the assignment. I picked out some, you know, comic book heroes. I think it was Red Sonja and Spider-Woman and stuff like that. And I was doing it, and I got really frustrated because I couldn't get the things right. And so then I erased all the grid marking, and then I just drew it by hand. And I turned it in, and he was all like, where's your grid marks? And I said, well, I just did it by hand. And he's like, and you say you can't draw. And that was pretty much how it went. And then he just kept encouraging me to draw. So he'd give me stuff to draw to see what I could draw. And it doesn't always come out perfect. I mean, it's not the same. And in my animation, you're going to see here that for each of the years, as I grow, you'll see stuff. So there was 3 things that I did. I did a cartoon that had this little feather. It was a little Native American guy behind a rock. At least that was the assumption. You never saw him. And he'd make little weird flat jokes. And I did made stick people who weren't very elaborate, but they were stick people. And then as I was going along, I started making them pornography stick people because that was kind of funny when you were in high school. And then I did that kind of work. I just looked at something and did a picture of it. In the 1980s, I used comic books as my posing samples. The 2 unicorns, though, are of my own creation. In the 1990s, She Who Shall Not Be Named was born in 1991, and my artwork started to take a different avenue. I had gone to college in the 80s after I graduated from high school, and the teachers there in the art classes were like telling me not to bank on making any money from my artwork, and actually probably I should stop kind of doing artwork because unless I was just doing it for myself, which was very disheartening for me, and I kind of quit drawing for a while. Then I had my daughter in 1991, and I started drawing again because I made a name thing for her from doodle art, and that was what I really liked, was just doing these pretty bright, childlike doodle work. I don't know how else to explain it. It's kind of, you'll see it in the next pictures that come up. You'll kind of see the doodle art, and the doodle art just is like, you kind of play around with it till you get something that's, you know, really good. And I did. I experimented with quite a bit of different ways with it, and I really enjoyed it. And I made these, you know, beautiful name pictures for children. So all my children have them. Boo Boys isn't finished yet. It's sitting in the back of some place because I like to get caught up with all my other stuff before I get there. But I made them for other people's kids too. Whenever there would be a party and I couldn't think of something to make for somebody, I'd make them a name sign. Now I'm going to do that with the animation, so that should be pretty fun. A lot of my art during the 90s was looking at a picture and kind of using the position of the picture. Like so, and then putting my own artwork to it. And that's what the gift... And lady, that's what the gift is. The gift is a picture of something else, and then I added my own version of it because I was exploring some different ways of drawing. And then I was actually drawing on my own, which people still didn't like very much. It was very primitive or very juvenile, I guess is the term they made. So that's how that works. But I enjoyed it, so it took me a long time to go back to drawing. In 1983 is when I graduated. I was in college in 1984. I quit drawing in 1985. It wasn't until 1992 that I went back to drawing. So it's quite a long time because those people really affected what I thought. In the 90s, I was using comic books as posed still, but mostly working into my own type of works directly from my head and contrast with doodle art. Okay, so I was doing lots of doodle art because in 2000, well, whenever I would work or something, you had to go to meetings. I'm a very visual kind of person, and it's easier to hear what people are trying to tell me if my hands are moving, or I'm what's called a kinetic learner. So if I'm moving and drawing and reading and doodling while I'm trying to learn something, I learn it better. So I went back to college. I graduated in 2001 with a AA, and so I went back to college to get a bachelor's degree, and I was doodling a lot in classes, but I was also using artwork. I wanted to be a teacher or work with kids, and then you had to take this class. It was called Art for Children, and so a lot of the work that I show here is from that, but there's other things too. It's my own drawings and learning how. I think the biggest thing in 2000 that really kind of came about was me deciding that stick people didn't have to be like just a round circle and arms and legs. You could actually add clothes to them or hair to them, or, you know, you could use them in the ways that you would use regular models. And so that's what really how I started, you know, my stick figures started to being more like what you see in my animation. In 2000, I went back to school and I did a lot of artwork in classes and also lots of doodle work. And you can see I started to define my little stick figure people. Okay, so then from 2010 until pretty much now, I had it broken up a different way, but really, I started doing lots of stuff for I had a website for Eliza Jane, for my writings and other arts, and I started producing chapter marks because I wanted, you know how on the top of your chapter you have a number or whatever. I had these symbols that had to do with what was in the book, and I wanted it to be kind of fun for you to figure out what the symbols meant, along with the people in the book were trying to figure out what the symbols meant. So that was kind of what I was doing at the time. I did a lot of invitations and stuff like that. We had a whole Mario birthday party for Bobby Joe. And the invitations I made, all the little guys, I made them out of sugar things and stuff. Most of my art now goes for my animation, my crafting, and for the sheer joy of wanting to draw something if I choose to draw it. But mostly I'm doing now the storyboards to my animation, and that's where all the art that I'm doing. For 2 years in a row, we joined a Chalk Fest. And I did artwork there too, but it's getting to be that's too hard on my arms to do, so I don't know if next year, unless they figure out what's wrong with my arms, I don't know if I'll be doing that again. I might design it out for my son. But anyway, I think the biggest thing I wanted to say about this in my vlog is that I had been told I was a lousy, first I'd been told I was a great artist, and then there was a potential for me if I just grew. And then I was told I was a lousy artist, that there was nothing was going to come of it. And that, you know, if compared to other people out there, I was doing really bad. And then I figured I could use the art for myself. And that worked really, really well. And then I could use it to help kids. Because kids, you know, they get to a certain age, they draw really, really well. And then they get to a certain age and they stop drawing because everyone's comparing their work. And so I would work with kids that had a really hard time, and I'd say, you know, don't compare yourself. It's hard to get that grasp, though, because people still compare themselves. But you should never compare yourself. I mean, I use my art to make shirts for myself. I make art, draw pictures on pants. I make patches. I make quilting pieces. I'm so engaged in my drawing and then how it filters on down through my life that I think that you should never quit just because somebody tells you they think you have no talent. You're just going to have to decide that you do and screw them all. From 2010 to currently now, I've explored different ways of doing artwork. I create artwork for myself and for my kids. No one has the right to ever tell you that something isn't good enough. Only you can determine that. I enjoy doing art. Maybe you can too. All right. That's it. Peace. I'll catch y'all on the flip side.